Good morning, comrades. It is Monday, the 7th of June, 2021. This is your daily Good Morning Comrade. Good morning to G Wolf in the chat. I'll give a shout out again to Kenzo. He had me on his show last night, Meet the Left, with a really awesome panel, actually. We had Janelle Jolly from the What's Left to Do podcast. Really smart person, really smart woman. I think that we're going to be talking about getting her on here soon. And we also were on with Max Collins, who is... when I figured out who he was, I started pogging my ass off because the dude is... dude's the singer for Eve 6, which hits me right in the 8th grade spot, if you know what I mean. The Inside Out, the Heart in a Blender, when put my tender heart in a blender, that. And then he's been posting some dope shit for a while now. We talked a little bit about fake influencers in the music industry, and how like they're actually getting clocked by millennials. I was not aware that any of this shit was going on. But yeah, it was pretty cool. Having that conversation, hanging out. Is my volume turned down? Is that better? Is that better? Can you hear me? Hello? Is this thing on? Is this thing on? All right. I don't know what the deal was. Levels were pretty high, but I'll just put them higher. But yeah, Max Collins from Eve 6. That was kind of a wild win, kind of an unexpected blast from the past. Good job on landing that. And yeah, it was a good time, good show. Definitely gonna reach out to Janelle about getting her to come on the show. She was super nice and super cool. And check out her podcast, What's Left to Do. Good Morning Torches and Pitchforks. You can listen to her podcast, What's Left to Do, on all of your streaming services. Check her out. But yeah, we had a good time last night. Then, and we're going to talk about this a little bit later, I could not help myself. It was just too stupid to pass up. And we have a story on this coming. The Logan Paul versus Floyd Mayweather fight. One of the most bizarre, like everybody sort of knew that boxing was dead. Let me turn that music down a little bit. Everybody before, like for years, knew that boxing was dead for like a really, really long time. Like, no question. But last night, with the Logan Paul versus Floyd Mayweather, like literally one of the best fighters of all time, 50-0, like I think it was either 3 or 4 weight division champion. He literally could have murdered Logan Paul in the ring at any second that he wanted to, and just decided not to do it. I mean, he didn't lose. It wasn't even a fight. It wasn't like an exhibition. It was like an exhibition. There was no winner or loser. It was just two guys punching gloves and trading one another, which is also the crazy part. I mean, there was a report yesterday that I saw that said that Floyd Mayweather, who is literally like, he's essentially the new Don King. Like, he's basically just the number one promoter of boxing now, which is like, boxing's in a way worse state than it was in the 1990s. Let's just get into it in a second. But boxing's in a way worse place than it was in the 1990s. And that's saying something. I mean, the fact that you're not even able to, I don't know. It's just a dead sport. And like the biggest problem right now is, and I don't want to be like a moralist about this. Like, I'm not trying to do that. But like, if they're resorting to these kinds of spectacles, it's already over, and it's been over for a long time. And boxing is just like it's like postmodern boxing. It's like a reference to boxing. It's like, and I think it might have started that sort of like end of boxing sort of thing. Must have started with when they started doing the celebrity boxing. That was not good news. That was not good news. Hold on, I gotta ban a couple bots. Got bots in here, folks. I got bots in here. Where are they at? There they are. Anyway, let's get into the story. Logan Paul was. I read this this morning. Let's take a look at this. Logan Paul was right. His fight with Floyd Mayweather was fucking stupid. So, like, the one thing, and I don't like think that Floyd Mayweather is like a good dude or anything like that. He's actually like not very much not the case, for a variety of reasons. However, the way that he sort of conducted himself throughout this entire thing was that he treated this entire event with the dignity that it deserved, which is essentially none. So, you know what, G Wolf, I'm gonna make you a mod. Can you just ban those bots, please? Oh. I can't figure it out. There you go. You're a mod now. Please ban the bots on Twitch. So anyway, yeah, Logan Paul gave the fight the dignity deserved, which is essentially none. And he sort of acted like, yeah, like I'm literally doing this. He essentially called, good morning, Ginny. He literally called the fight like basically legalized bank robbery, which is right. Oh my gosh, my pillow is just a platform for something bigger, hilarious. Yeah, Logan Paul is the worst kind of person. Like, he's just this annoying fucking guy that just like part of the reason that this worked in a lot of ways is because like everybody that isn't like a Logan Paul stan or a Logan Paul like watcher or whatever, like wanted to see him get punched in the face and killed. Like, that's the sort of like freak show nature of this. And, you know, like, one of the things, and I watched a lot of boxing over the years, and I've liked boxing. I think I've always thought boxing was a pretty great sport, despite like all of the fucking problems that it has, which are many. However, at the same time, like, nothing is better than a great fight. Like, it's just one of those kinds of things where you just see people like putting it all out there. Well, Mayweather is the perfect guy for that. I mean, like, again, I don't expect people to know like super much about boxing, but everything that, like, Floyd Mayweather's whole career was him basically being better than the other person and doing like risking the least to gain the most. He's like the ultimate max min fighter. By that I mean he's not going to take any chances if he's going to win the fight, and he's going to like outbox anybody and make them look ridiculous and stupid. And there was essentially like a no, like, in the sort of like boxing terminology or like boxing sort of like cred world, it's like a no-win situation in terms of like he's going to be raising his, like, he's not fighting this fight because he wants to prove how good he is. He's fighting this fight, like, again, think about it. If he's proven how good he is, then like if he loses to Jake Paul or whatever, which is like never a possibility, right? But if he did, he just lost to a YouTuber who's not even a fighter, like this fucking like chucklehead dumb fuck who basically just tries to go online and be epic asshole all the time, right? And then if he wins, he beat up somebody who's not even a real fighter, right? This fucking chuckle fuck dumb fuck who is just, you know, a loud ass that wants to make a bunch of noise. But the way that Floyd Mayweather wins, no matter what, is by making $100 million doing this. And that's really like the whole reason that this crazy dumb thing fucking happened, right? Because Floyd Mayweather can make $100 million and Jake Paul can make $100 million. This was never like supposed to be anything more than what it was, which is like a dumb fuck spectacle with like boxing as the sort of dressing around it. It was like a pretend legitimate competition. It's LARPing, really. It's LARPing. Like that's what fucking Jake Paul's doing. He's LARPing as a boxer. I mean, like Floyd Mayweather could have like literally just knocked Jake Paul out at any point he wanted to, but he didn't, because why would he do that? What's the point? Yeah. So there you go. That's my analysis of all of that shit. I mean, it was a kind of show that like Chad Johnson, the former wide receiver for the Cincinnati Bengals, he decided that you know what, I'm going to be a boxer too, and he had a fight with like a real boxer and got knocked out. So you wouldn't have thought any less of Floyd if he hammered Logan Hall with ER. Yeah. I mean, but like, yeah, I don't know. It's dumb, it's stupid, but like it is what it is. This is like the end of, I don't know. It's definitely the end of boxing, but like it's already long dead. This is like, oh, you didn't know boxing was dead? Well, here's a reminder. You know what I mean? Anyway, there's other important stories to talk about today that I wanted to get to. Let's do a real story before we do bullshit stories, though. See if I check in there. Yeah, so I'm actually feeling pretty good today, despite all of the weirdness. I'm feeling. This is what I'm feeling hopeful about, at least. Even though like there's hopefulness, or there's terror and danger behind the hopefulness, and if you look at mainstream media, you aren't sure. But Peru had elections last night. And essentially there is it's a classic, we talked about this a little bit on Kenzo's show last night too, a classic sort of situation of you have the sort of like right-wing neoliberal and a true labor leader, teacher, leftist in Pedro Castillo, who were contesting in that election. And the early returns are that it's really close. And from what I understand, and reports are a little bit conflicted on this, on the counting, but Castillo, the leftist, has a really good chance of winning. Now, the problem, so this here says that the account is 50.2 to 49.8, with only 9% returning. I mean, 9% remaining to be counted. I've heard other things that it was a little bit flipped the other way. The unofficial fast count on late Sunday by Ipsos Peru gave Castillo a fractional lead after an exit poll said rival Fujimori, she's the conservative, will eke out a win, leaving the copper-rich Andean country. Well, at least they're right about the resources. That's what's really at stake here, right? Investors and mining firms guessing. Lucia Dammert, a Peruvian academic based in Chile, predicted that the coming days would be febrile. Febrile, having or showing symptoms of a fever. Okay. Febrile? Okay. They'll be febrile with potential changes to the votes and requests for recounts. She forecasts protests, particularly if Fujimori were to win. That's sort of an inoculation, actually, that often happens, like when like mainstream type press like report these kinds of things. They're basically saying, yeah, if the neoliberal doesn't win, there's going to be protests. People are going to be upset about that. Be ready for it. But anyway, quote further, what's clear is that if Keiko Fujimori, she's the incumbent, wins, she's going to have to shut herself up in a fortress in Lima and just stomach what will happen in the rest of the country, she said. As first results trickled in Sunday evening, 51-year-old Castillo, son of a peasant farmer who was pledged to shake up Peru's constitution and mining laws, had rallied supporters to, quote, defend the vote through a later call for claim. So here's a difference between what happens in Peru and what happens in the U.S. Because, like, it sounds to me like the press is trying to make it seem like the Castillo supporters are going to be like the QAnon Trump people who are trying to stop the steal. Ocho Cinco was a patriot? What? Can you elaborate on Ocho Cinco, please? JP Morgan said in a note that it could be days before the final outcome of the election was clear, and the two candidates might opt to wait for the Why are we talking about JP Morgan? What the fuck? Could be days before the final outcome of the election was clear, and the two candidates might opt to wait for this process to finish before declaring victory or conceding defeat. I just don't understand why this is being like, that's a bank. That's weird. On Monday morning, Fujimori had 8.24 million votes to Castillo's 8.16 million, with a gap of 72,963. That was narrowing as Castillo took around 60% of newly counted ballots. The slower to count rural vote is expected to help Castillo, though uncounted overseas ballots could boost Fujimori. Oh, he retired from the Patriots. I thought you were like, he was a trooper or whatever. Tom Brady was the best he ever worked with. Yeah, that's true. Unless close call scenario depicted by the quick account proves wrong, is this like a person named JP Morgan? Because that's just weird. Anyway, analysts say that whoever wins will have a weakened mandate given the sharp divisions in Peru and will face a fragmented Congress with no one holding a majority, potentially stalling any major reforms. Castillo's sunrise prominence since winning the first round vote in April has unnerved markets and spooked mining firms concerning over plans to sharply hike taxes on mineral profits and threats of nationalizations. Yeah. The wild thing to me is that the wild thing to me about this shit is the framing of like, oh, if Castillo loses, he's gonna throw a fit, when like the US has a tremendously long and illustrious history of supporting coups against leftists. So like when American media like Reuters, which is where this article's from, start saying, well, if the leftist loses, then they're going to have protests. And if the leftist wins, we're just going to do a fucking coup, you know? Like, I'm hoping, and this is why this whole Peru situation, as I said earlier, is extremely fraught with danger, is because Well, we have the, as I think Janelle said this way last night. We have the competent imperialists in power in the United States, as opposed to the incompetent imperialists that we had in charge during the Trump administration. They're going to be like licking their chops and firing up the tanks and like ready to flip this motherfucker like as soon as they call it for Castillo. Like that's just what I think is going to happen. And the reason that I say that is because that's just what always happens. Does Biden care about anything, actually? So that's interesting. There was actually a really good interview that maybe I could pull it up. It was with Sam Cedar from the Majority Report, and he had on Jeremy Scahill. And essentially, the one, and Scahill's a really great reporter. He's with the Intercept now, I think, still. Or he's, yeah, I think he's still at the Intercept now. Or he was. He wrote the book Dirty Wars. He wrote a book on Blackwater. He wrote a book on American assassinations. Real leftist, real good dude, really good investigative journalist. One of the ones that are doing great work. And essentially, he said, as he did like an analysis of Joe Biden, the number one through line in the Biden administration that he identified. He's still at the Intercept? Yeah, I figured. The number one through line that he identified that Joe Biden has supported his entire career, all the way through from when he was a senator to now, was the expansion of American empire and the pursuit of American interests, capitalist American interests, to be clear. Here's a video, Empire Politician. Let's watch it.
We have never had a president with a longer paper trail than Joe Biden.
All right, wow, I gotta turn that up a little bit. All right, let's turn the music off. Music off. Music off. Which tab? I got too many tabs open. All right. Turn this up. Let's watch. This is from a couple of months ago. But this is a half century of Joe Biden's stance on war, militarism, and the CIA. Make sure I have it set up. Okay, good. And yeah.
We have never had a president with a longer paper trail than Joe Biden. He's taken so many different positions on the same issues so many times throughout his career that I sometimes wonder if Biden even knows anymore what he actually thinks about a particular issue. Joe Biden might tell you one thing one day and really believe it. And then the next day, he's doing the exact opposite because he's cut some side deal that maybe we'll hear about in some years. Above all, Biden is an empire politician. He is someone who believes that questions of war don't really matter on a moral level, but how does it impact America's credibility, security, and prestige?
You see that? Hold on. So basically, what he's saying is that Joe Biden will say anything to anybody. He'll say whatever they want to hear. But what he does, and this is bared out by his entire history, his entire career, is that he is going to pursue American interests. And how did he put it?
Of war don't really matter on a moral level, but how does it impact America's credibility, security, and prestige?
And, yep, America's credibility, security, and prestige are the three top priorities at the expense of everything else. It's like a literally imperialist agenda.
The youngest new face in the U.S. Senate next year will be that of Democrat Joseph Biden of Delaware.
When Joe Biden began his run for the US Senate, Richard Nixon was running a lawless administration.
We must never allow America to become the second strongest nation in the world.
The CIA is conducting operations inside
Joe Biden has the exact same position as Nixon on this shit, by the way.
The United States. There's secret components to the war in Vietnam. And early on in his Senate career, Biden ends up on a subcommittee that is examining the issue of American war power. Who has the right to send the American people into a war? And he becomes an original co-sponsor of one of the most important.
Well, yeah, there's something called the bipartisan foreign policy consensus, which goes all the way back to, actually, it probably started with Carter. I mean, you could say it started with Ford and Nixon, but the bipartisan foreign policy consensus between Democrats and Republicans is just basically saying our policy is going to be imperialism, and we're not even going to have that question be up for debate. It's not new, and it wasn't new, but at that point after Vietnam, it became like that. Like Vietnam was the first big time. The last time it was really a question until probably the Iraq War. That and many Democrats supported the Iraq War and the Afghanistan War. I'm talking about the one in 2021, not the one in the 90s.
Laws passed by the United States Congress on questions of war.
The War Powers Act grew out of the agony of the Vietnam War. Based on its constitutional authority, Congress passed a joint resolution which obliged the president to get congressional approval.
Also, Biden becomes
I got something on the zipper later if we have time.
Very early and ardent critic of the CIA for the perception that the White House and the CIA are regularly circumventing the US Congress. And then on the other side of it, Biden becomes a totally radical warrior against leaking and against whistleblowers. Jimmy Carter nominates an outsider to be director of the CIA. Ted Sorensen, a friend of the Kennedy family, an advisor to JFK. Carter had said he was going to rein in the CIA, shrink it, reduce its budget. But then Biden discovers,
never fucking happened.
Ted Sorensen actually wrote an affidavit in support of Daniel Ellsberg when the Pentagon Papers prosecution was happening. And Ellsberg was facing a century in prison under the Espionage Act. And in that affidavit, Ted Sorensen says, everybody in Washington takes classified documents home. And they regularly leak far more sensitive documents to the press than the Pentagon Papers. Ted Sorensen's nomination was dead in the water after Biden joined the Republicans. Biden was more obsessed with some random admission from a Washington insider that they had taken classified documents home than he was about actually reining in the CIA.
Republican audiences love what he has to say.
Reagan and Bush take power in Washington. Biden understands exactly what they want to do. They want to undo all of the oversight mechanisms that were put in place post-Nixon. So Biden becomes the leading opponent of Reagan's nominee to be CIA director, William
Part
Casey.
of the reason,
But then,
they were oversight. So essentially, oversight wasn't so much a thing until Nixon was accused or was, proven to have essentially spied on everybody, took the U.S. the U.S. president position to be completely and utterly to the extreme, or at least to the extremes compared to what the systems was used to or was prepared to at least accept publicly. And most people who would run for president, including Jimmy Carter, including Gerald Ford and all these other motherfuckers, don't disagree with that. What they sort of, the way that they differ is in how nice they want to be about it.
Opponent of Reagan's nominee to be CIA director, William Casey. But then as Biden sort of gets to know people and he's big on personal relationships, he starts to back away from his own supposedly bedrock positions. So he opposes William Casey's nomination, but ultimately then votes for William Casey. So throughout Casey's tenure, which spanned both of Reagan's terms, you see Biden on the one hand blasting Casey in public, and then privately, literally collaborating to sell covert options as in American national interest. In some cases, to sell wars that were being done without the
Norm shifted after Nixon, and they slowly came back, and now they're worse than they were under Nixon. I mean, in a lot of ways. I mean, the president doing, targeted assassinations on American citizens, that's new shit. At least in terms of it's not like super new, but like it is sort of like off the table. But like when that happened to Anwar al-Awlaki and then his son Abdul Rahman al-Awlaki, that was essentially like Obama did that, and he didn't get in any trouble for it. They swept it under the rug, so essentially the president can fucking do it.
very laws being followed that Joe Biden co-sponsored. He had supported the invasion of Grenada in 1983. He supported airstrikes that were intended to kill Muammar Gaddafi in 1986. In Nicaragua, the Reagan administration begins financing and arming the Contra death squads, and this would ultimately lead to the Iran-Contra scandal. Biden publicly railing against the funding of the Contras, but then does what I think can just be called a Biden.
How are you?
So Biden starts to try to broker deals. Well, we can support the Contras, Mr. Reagan, if we put this restriction on it and that restriction on it.
I think I'm looking forward to helping on this one too. Well,
You can do the horrible fucking thing as long as you put a fucking fig leaf over it.
Bless your heart. He would say, oh, well, that's because I'm a great compromiser. You don't compromise with death squads. And, Joe Biden, very, very early on in the Iran-Contra scandal, came out and said basically that Reagan probably should resign. Reagan gives this now infamous speech in which he says that at the time I made these statements, saying that we didn't transfer any arms for hostages.
My heart and my best intentions still tell me that's true. But the facts and the evidence tell me it is not.
Reagan gives this sort of logical gymnastics speech. Who does it resonate with?
Joe
It
Biden.
resonates with Joe Biden.
I take the president at his word that he did not know. I accept him at his word.
So in 1990, 1991, it becomes clear that
The idea that the president or a boss in any situation would be somehow held not responsible for shit that happens under their administration is genuinely shocking to me. It's been used over and over and over again in the US, but it still just gobsmacks me every fucking time. The fact that, oh, you didn't know what was happening in your administration. Oh, we'll just let you off the hook. It's bananas, man. And it's always used as a way to insulate fucking imperialist presidents. It's nuts.
The United States is going to go to war against Iraq. Joe Biden starts raising holy hell in the US Senate about the War Powers Resolution. Biden gets so furious during this battle with the White House and Bush's utter disdain for congressional war powers that he takes a principled stand and actually votes against the authorization. And Biden actually lives to regret that he didn't vote in favor of that war because it ended up being very popular and was helping to sort of boost the American morale in the post-Vietnam era.
Aggression is defeated. The war is over.
Biden then, almost overnight, transforms into one of the most hawkish figures on Iraq policy in the United States Congress. He becomes a leading voice calling for the overthrow of the Iraqi regime.
It's going to require guys like you in uniform to be back on foot in the desert, taking taking Saddam down.
Jesus Christ.
And so What you see is Biden emerging from the 1990s as an empire guy. Now, in the case of the war in the former Yugoslavia, Biden was a very early advocate of the U.S. intervening militarily. Biden was among the first to call it a genocide in Bosnia. But at the same time, Biden also sort of rejected notions that this is just a humanitarian cause. Biden would talk about it throughout the 90s as defending American prestige.
We should go to Belgrade and we should have a Japanese, German style.
We're watching a video. So let me just set this up for you. So last night there were some Peruvian elections, and it looks like there's a pretty good chance that a leftist leader is going to win in that election. And we just kind of started getting into the way that U.S. constantly, like, the fear right now is that there's going to be, at least a fear I have, I'm sure that other people share it, there's going to be a U.S. regime change in there. It's just like what happens in Bolivia, just what happened in, it was attempting to do in Venezuela, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And Joe Biden is very likely to, support that. So we're watching a video by Jeremy Scahill from The Intercept on Joe Biden.
Style, occupation.
And his sort of like long history of supporting U.S. imperialism.
Biden would talk about it throughout the 90s as defending American prestige.
We should go to Belgrade and we should have a Japanese, German style occupation of that country.
As Biden is agitating for the United States to be militarily involved in the former Yugoslavia, Haitians in the United States are watching as a brutal junta, death squads, overthrow the democratically elected government of the leftist president, Jean-Bertrand Aristide. And Biden gives an interview on Charlie Rose in which he basically says, nobody cares about Haiti.
If Haiti just quietly sunk into the Caribbean or rose up 300 feet, it wouldn't matter a whole lot in terms of our interest.
The world.
He viewed the stakes in Europe as something that the U.S. could gain by getting involved. In the case of Haiti, it would have been purely humanitarian in nature. And then
not interested in humanitarian, like actual humanitarian intervention. Joe Biden is interested in intervention that he can call humanitarian, that can benefit the U.S. in terms of political influence and resources, period.
Administration, immersed in the Monica Lewinsky scandal, suddenly starts a series of wars and military actions.
Yep.
So Biden supports all of them. He supports the bombing of a pharmaceutical factory in Sudan. He supports bombing some farm in Afghanistan where maybe Osama bin Laden had been recently. And when the FBI director comes to testify in front of Congress, Joe Biden is one of the senators who starts saying, can you clarify for me, what's the legality of assassination? Biden seems to get the problem with the idea that America can kill whomever it wants, wherever it wants, however it wants. Then the 9/11 attacks happen. And the simplest way to put it is that Joe Biden just supports almost everything that the Bush administration wants in the immediate aftermath. Biden not only votes in favor of the 2003 invasion and occupation of Iraq, he plays a key role in facilitating a war based on lies.
No matter how long it takes.
Now, as president, Joe Biden is saying he's going to withdraw all U.S. troops from Afghanistan.
I've concluded that it's time to end America's longest war.
This doesn't mean that the war is going to completely end. When Biden was vice president, Biden wanted to use the very forces that actually are at the tip of the spear of assassination operations instead of the large-scale troop deployment. What he's doing is finally getting the war waged the way he wanted it, which is the CIA, special operations forces that are going to hunt down and kill the people that he determines are the enemy. If Biden had become president, 20 years ago, I think that it would have been easier to predict some of his future actions or policy behavior. But because of his age, because of the political moment that we're in, I think there are some real wild cards in how Biden is going to approach the world, including on questions of war.
Yeah. So big yikes in general on Joe Biden. But like, when I think about what's happening in Peru right now, the possibility of a leftist winning a close election, I think about shit like that, like Joe Biden doing a regime change. Sounds like China has something to say about it, about regime change. Torches and pitchforks. Bombing a factory that proved 70% of North Africa's needs. Huh? What are you talking about? Joe Biden was elected to Congress when you were 6. Holy shit. I mean, I don't know how old you are, but he's been in Congress for a long time. Anyway, speaking of horrible, like scary fucking shit. This I saw over the weekend, or probably about a week ago, but I wanted to get into it. I know it's a little bit of an older story, but I really, really wanted to get into this because it's actually fucking terrifying. I mean, it's fucking terrifying. A rogue killer drone hunted down a human target without being instructed to do so, a UN report says. What? Oh, in 1998. Okay. Yeah. So, this is from Yahoo News. A lethal weaponized drone, quote, hunted down a target without being told to, likely for the first time, according to a UN report seen by the New Scientist. In March 2020 incident, a Kargu-2 quadcopter autonomously attacked a person during a conflict between Libyan government forces and breakaway military faction led by the Libyan National Army's Khalifa Haftar, the Daily Star reported. So this motherfucking robot, baby Skynet, this motherfucking robot decided, you know what? I'm going to go kill this person. I'm going to go try to kill this person. Turkish-built Kargu-2, a deadly attack drone designed for asymmetric warfare and anti-terrorist operations. Good stuff. Targeted one of Haftar's soldiers while he tried to retreat, according to the paper. The drone, which can be directed to detonate on impact, was operating in a, quote, highly effective autonomous mode that required no human controller. Oh shit, we got deathbots, baby. Skynet has become operational. The lethal autonomous weapon systems were programmed to attack targets without requiring data connectivity between the operator and the munition. In effect, a true fire, forget, and find capability. The report from the UN Security Council panel of experts on Libya said. It's likely the first time drones have attacked humans without instructions to do so, said Jack Callenborn, a national security consultant who specialized in unmanned systems and drones, confirmed in the report. Callenborn has concerns about the future. So do I, Callenborn. Callenborn has concerns about the future of autonomous drones. Quote, how brittle is the object recognition system? How often does it misidentify targets? Hopefully, I mean, like the idea should be never, hopefully never. Jack Watling, a researcher on land warfare in the Royal United Services Institute, told the New Scientist that the incident demonstrates the urgent and important need to discuss the potential regulation of autonomous weapons. Yes, let's not ban this kind of a weapon. Let's just regulate them. Human Rights Watch has called for the end to so-called killer robots and is campaigning for, quote, preemptive ban on the development, production, and use of fully autonomous weapons, according to a report. Holy shit, dude. Holy fucking shit. Death robots, baby. Let's go. Let's go. I mean, might as well. This is some Gundam Wing shit. Like, if you remember, that was like one of the things. That was one of the first like Gundam series that I watched when I was a kid. I don't know if anybody knows what this is, but like, there was like essentially like these giant mech robot sort of things, and they had a sort of section of the show where they would just like. It was a different question though because they didn't really go rogue, but they would have like a lot of autonomous robots, and it brought up different questions like the morality of war when you don't have humans in it and all this other kind of shit. But anyway, yeah, they should definitely be banned. Obviously, yeah, 100%. You had a terrible meeting with your mental health team. You've been really stressed, which is why I haven't put anything on Discord, but now you're good. I hope everything goes okay, choking on ashes. That shit's difficult. Moving on. We're moving on to this is the most important story of the day, actually. This is important because I think we're getting... So Snopes.com is a website that is supposed to suss out fake news, right? But what happens when the fake news, like the fake news busters, post fake news? That's good. That's good. Former U.S. President Donald Trump wore his pants backwards. This is the claim during the June 2021 North Carolina Republican Party convention in Greenville, North Carolina. That's the claim. Snopes says it's false. What? So let's look at the evidence really quick. One day you're a president of America. The next, you're some guy who wears his trousers backwards so he can take a shit out of the flies.
Yeah, thank you.
You telling me those pants ain't backwards? You telling me that he doesn't have a butt on his dick?
Wow, Mr. President, thank you so much. You know, and go back to 2016. I was in a 17-way race and won that primary and got here. I was a business guy.
Those are backwards pants right there, if I've ever seen them. In early June 2021, a video of former U.S. President Donald Trump circulated on the internet, claiming to show the politician wearing his pants backwards in what was one of the first public appearances leaving the White House less than 6 months earlier. Tabloid news publications like TMZ and Metro showed zoomed-in photos of the billionaire's crotch area, and some social media users took to Twitter to mock Trump, suggesting the 70-year-old had unintentionally put his pants on backwards. And at the North Carolina GOP convention, the photographs were so popular that they trended under the hashtag Trump pants. Pants are complicated. That is true. Photographs and video were taken at the 21 Republican gathering in Greenville. Snopes looked through the photographs taken at the event. Thank you. Whose job was it to be the pants investigator here? I want to speak to this pants investigator. Snopes looked through the photographs taken at the event and published by the visual media company Getty Images that clearly show the former president on stage wearing pants with a zipper in front. Okay, is the zipper there? I'm not seeing. Okay. Wow. Oops. Let me reopen that. The photograph was captured by Melissa Sue Garrett. The caption that accompanied the photograph read, "Former U.S. President Donald Trump listens to Ted Budd announce he's running for an NC Senate at the NC GOP State Convention in Greenville, North Carolina. The event is one of the former U.S. president's first high-profile public appearances since leaving the White House." A video posted by C-SPAN of the 90-minute speech, 90 minutes, good Lord, showed the former president wearing pants the right way. As such, we rate this claim false. Wow.
Former President Donald
Trump. Let's investigate. That was the most important part of this.
When you're finding somebody's drawing these documents.
Successful convention. Across the plains of Texas, from sea to shore.
Well, Snopes is saying that this is fake news. I don't know. That video looked pretty.
Yeah, thank you. Wow, Mr. President, thank you so much. You know, and go back.
I don't think this settles anything. I don't think Snopes can just hand wave this controversy away. I don't think it's possible. Nice try, Snopes. All right, I want to finish this off with a little video on the pizza pie.
If you want good pizza, come to St. Mark's. It's the best pizza. I'll be in any borough. I always come to St. Mark's. I know about 2 boroughs, so they love me in there. I shop every day in there. I got
Computer
2
enhanced.
slices a day. Keep the doctor away, my guy.
Hell yeah, Two Brothers Pizza. Solid slice.
One thing a lot of people tell us is that when you walk into Two Bros, it's like a microcosm of New York in general. You can see homeless people to Wall Street bankers on the same line waiting for that same pizza. It's something that everyone can rely on at any time of their life, whatever the situation is. My name is Eli Halali. I'm one of the bros.
I'm Warren Halali.
I'm one of the bros.
One of the bros.
We are the Two Bros.
Our pizza is by far the best quality pizza you could get, especially for $1. There's a lot of plain cheese slices, and then we do some topping slices.
The pizza at Two Bros is made from scratch every single day, hand tossed. You get it served hot, and you get it served in a matter of seconds. People are very busy. They come outside for lunch. They have 5 minutes to figure out what they want to do. Here's a place where I'm getting a fresh hot slice within 9 seconds, and it's $1.
That's our skill, is getting the people in and out, and that's what we're good at. And it's a science. It's something that we worked on for the last 10 years, perfecting.
Oh shit, look at the time.
We wanted to create a buzz when we opened, and we put this $1 special to start the business.
It was our mark.
Right, enough. This is more of an ad than I thought it would be. I thought it would be more about the pizza and less about the bros. Anyway, look at the time. We got to get going. It is, saw it years ago, good video. But anyway, we're hitting time anyway. So I do got to get out of here. But before we do that, a couple of announcements. Check out last night's episode of Meet the Left. I was on there again with Max Collins from Eve 6 and Janelle Jolly from the What's Left to Do podcast. I was kind of like a little bit starstruck when I found out that this was Max Collins from fucking Eve 6. That was wild. But yeah, check out Meet the Left. Last Thursday also, I was on the No Miki show. Go back and take a look at that. I've been a busy boy. Just jumping on people's shows. If anybody else, wants to have me on, let me know. But yeah, I was on Nomi's show. We talked about lots of stuff. We talked about Joe Biden. We talked about fucking Kirsten Cinema. We talked about the filibuster. We have I was on Kenzo's show last night. Yeah, he's been doing great. He's been doing pretty good. We have new supporters on Patreon. We're up to 12. If we get 25, I will paint my nails live on stream. But anyway, yeah, right. But anyway, you can support the show. Patreon.com/Good Morning Comrade. You can be like Ty Jitty, Michael H, Dan O, Jonathan H, Timothy C, Dragon Slayer 19, Andy L, Gary W, Rachel K, Kenneth F, Adam R, and Trey M. You can help support the fucking show. Get us over the hump. Get us to the point where we can make this show self-sustainable. Anyway, that's going to be it for me. Everybody have a wonderful day.